My name is Mackenzie Collins. That night, while I was on a work trip in Boston, I video called my husband. He smiled the way he always did. But when he stepped away from the screen, the camera panned across the bed. And right in the spot where I had slept for the past 8 years, a strange red phone appeared. It wasn't mine. In that moment, my heart seemed to stop beating, but my face held the same smile. I knew everything had changed. Have you ever felt betrayal inside the very home you trusted most? What would you do if you saw a sign that clear? Leave a comment to share your thoughts, hit like and subscribe to continue this journey with me. I remember vividly the first time I walked into the Carter family home. Back then, I was a girl in my early 20s, fresh out of graduate school, still awkward and unsure when I met and then married Nathan. My family was in Arizona, distant and cold. My parents rarely called and holidays usually slipped by in silence. But Harold and Elaine were different. From the very first meeting, they opened their arms to me as if I had always been part of their family. Elaine prepared a lavish dinner, and on the table was her rosemary roast chicken, famous throughout the neighborhood. I still remember the look in her eyes as she placed a piece of chicken on my plate. Gentle, warm, as if silently saying, "You are truly welcome here." Harold told me stories about Nathan's childhood, from when he fell off his bike to summers spent fishing. Their laughter filled the table and I sat there, quietly shedding tears of gratitude. In the years that followed, Sunday dinner became a sacred ritual. No matter how busy I was, no matter what Nathan's schedule looked like, we always returned to that suburban home every Sunday evening. Elaine stood in the kitchen wearing her floral apron, the smell of freshly baked apple pie filling the house. Harold set wine glasses on the table and put on a soft jazz record. I usually helped Elaine chop vegetables, while Nathan with his father talking about baseball and the family business. For the first time in my life, I felt I belonged to a real family. I remember whenever I caught the flu, Elaine would appear at my door with a pot of hot chicken soup, the scent of celery and garlic wafting through the kitchen. She would sit by my bed, pressing a cool cloth to my forehead like a mother I had never really known. Harold always called to remind me to change the car oil or check the furnace before winter came. He was steady and dependable, the kind of support I could rely on. And because of that, I trusted Nathan. I believed that a man raised in love and responsibility in such a warm home could never betray me. I believed our marriage, protected by Harold and Elaine's embrace, was unshakable. All those beautiful memories shattered piece by piece in my mind the moment I saw that red phone lying on my side of the bed. It was like a blood stain on pure white fabric, tainting all the years I had thought were innocent and happy. That night, while folding my suitcase in the Boston hotel room, I couldn't stop thinking of Elaine's face. I pictured the look in her eyes if she ever witnessed such a scene. I knew her, she would be more devastated than anyone. And Harold, the man who had always trusted in his son's integrity, would he even be able to stand? I sat by the hotel window for hours, watching the city lights stretch like golden ribbons. Inside me was a battle. Should I confront Nathan directly or should I remain silent? But 8 years of marriage had taught me one thing. Every time I doubted and questioned, Nathan built walls of excuses. He would corner me, make me question my own sanity. But this time I wouldn't let him control the story. I would let the truth reveal itself, and Harold and Elaine would see it with their own eyes. I had to show them. I couldn't let them live under the illusion that their son was the perfect husband, the model man. I thought back to my 30th birthday. Elaine had baked a 3-tier chocolate cake and written across it in her own hand, "We are so lucky to have you in this family." When I blew out the candles, I wished our bond would last forever. But now that red phone felt like a blade slicing through that wish, turning it into something fragile and unreal. I remembered something Harold once said when we were about to sign the papers for our current home. A house isn't a place to live. It's a place to trust. And there I was, in a strange hotel room, asking myself, could a family built on lies still be called a family? And then I realized I already had my answer. That red phone wasn't only proof of an affair. It was the sign of the collapse of the perfect picture I had naively believed in. It forced me to re-examine everything from the past 8 years. Every word, every smile, every embrace. Perhaps the perfect family I thought I had was only a curtain hiding a harsh truth behind it. And I knew it was time to pull that curtain back, no matter how cruel what lay behind might be. I landed at the airport in the early morning, carrying a small suitcase and a racing heart. The last-minute ticket I changed the night before had brought me home a day earlier. I didn't tell Nathan. Instead, I dialed Harold and Elaine. Elaine's warm, surprised voice came through the phone. Mackenzie? You're home already? Nathan didn't say a word to us. I tried to sound calm. I wanted to create a little surprise. I thought, it would be nicer if you both came along. We could surprise Nathan together. There was a brief pause on the other end, then Elaine let out a soft laugh, the familiar kind that made my chest tighten. Oh, he'll be so happy. All right then, come to our house first and we'll go together. Harold chimed in, his tone cheerful. Let me record it on video. We'll tease him about it later. I forced a smile, knowing I was leading them to face a truth they might not be able to bear. But I couldn't face it alone. And I couldn't let them keep living in an illusion of their perfect son. The taxi turned onto the familiar road leading to Harold and Elaine's house. When I rolled my suitcase onto the porch, Elaine opened the door and embraced me, her gentle perfume brushing against my shoulder. Harold patted my arm, his eyes filled with trust. Ready, daughter? I pressed my lips together and nodded. The word daughter from Harold made my throat tighten. They had always called me that, and it was heartbreaking to think their trust would be betrayed by their own son. We drove together to my house with Nathan. The quiet street, lined with maple trees swaying in the breeze, had once been a picture of peace. Now it looked like the backdrop for a cruel stage play. The door opened easily with my key. Inside, the house was silent. I signaled Harold and Elaine to stay quiet. They were excited, as if they were about to see their son surprised, unaware I was leading them to the edge of a cliff. We stepped into the living room. Everything was neat and tidy, as though nothing had happened. But then, the sound of a woman's laughter echoed from upstairs. High, young, cheerful, but to me it was a blade slicing through my skin. Elaine froze, her eyes darting toward me. I saw her hand tremble. Harold furrowed his brows, about to speak, but I pressed my finger to my lips to silence him. We climbed the stairs, each step stretching like an eternity. My heartbeat pounded so loudly I thought the whole house could hear it. At the top of the hallway, the laughter grew clearer, mixed with Nathan's deep, familiar voice. I inhaled sharply and reached for the bedroom door. I pushed it open. The sight before me froze the air. Nathan, wrapped in nothing but a towel around his waist, stood by the bed. And on the young woman sitting at its edge was a cream-colored bathrobe. My bathrobe. The one Elaine had given me last Christmas, along with a note that read, "To keep you warm in this home." She turned her head, eyes wide with surprise and a hint of panic. Elaine let out a strangled cry. Oh my God! Nathan! Harold went still, eyes wide as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing, his eyes wide as if he couldn't believe what was happening before him. Nathan spun around, his face drained of color. Mackenzie? What are you doing here? I came home early. And I thought it would be wonderful if your parents could share in the surprise too. Samantha rose at once, clutching the bathrobe to her chest, and said, I thought you said you were separated. Elaine turned to Nathan, her voice trembling but full of anger. Separated? Is that what you told her? Nathan stammered, his fists clenched as if scrambling for an excuse. It's not what it looks like. I can explain. I cut him off, my tone cold. Explain what? The bathrobe? Or the laughter we all just heard in the hallway? Harold roared, his voice harsher than I had ever heard. Nathan Carter. Do you realize what you've done? Nathan lowered his head, but his eyes kept darting, searching for escape. Samantha stepped back, clearly wanting to flee the suffocating scene. My voice came out raw, but every word was sharp. This is the man I trusted for 8 years. This is the son you've always been proud of. And this is the truth. Elaine sank onto the edge of the bed, clutching her chest. Tears streamed down her face, each one piercing my heart. Harold stepped closer, his trembling hand on his wife's shoulder, his eyes on Nathan filled with disappointment and bitterness. Nathan stumbled back, the towel at his waist looking pitiful and absurd in the thick silence. He stammered, Mackenzie, it's not what you think. I can explain. Explain? How about the red phone? Do you remember last night's video call when the camera swept across the bed? I saw it. And it's still here, right on my nightstand. I pointed at the red phone sitting brazenly on the table beside the bed, like a glaring stain on the once perfect family portrait. Elaine pressed a hand to her chest, her breathing quickened. Harold stepped forward, his voice stern, his eyes fixed on his son. Nathan, don't even think about denying it. We all see it clearly. Nathan panicked, his voice rushed. All right, yes, I made a mistake. But Mackenzie, work's been stressful, we've had less time together. I cut in, my voice sharper like a blade. Don't you dare blame work or distance. You had 1,000 ways to cope, but you chose betrayal. This wasn't a slip. It was a deliberate choice. And you brought her into this house, onto my bed. Elaine sobbed, tears running down her face, her trembling hands clasped tightly together. Nathan, how could you do this to Mackenzie? To this family? By then, Samantha had scrambled into her clothes, quietly stuffing her things into her bag, avoiding every gaze. She looked at me, her voice small and shaky. I didn't know it was like this. He told me you were separated. I laughed bitterly. Separated? That's funny. Last night we were on video call, he told me he missed me, that he couldn't wait for me to come home. What a perfect performance. Harold turned to Nathan, his voice steady but shaking with contained fury. Do you understand what you've done? You've destroyed Mackenzie's trust, and your parents' trust as well. Nathan shot me a desperate look, pleading for forgiveness. But I was no longer the wife who bowed her head. I folded my arms, took a deep breath, and spoke slowly. This house is in my name, remember? You suggested it yourself for tax purposes. So let me be clear. You have 30 minutes to pack. After that, I'm changing the locks. Nathan froze, his voice rising. You can't throw me out. This is my house too. I stressed every word. No, Nathan. This is my house. All the paperwork proves it. You can argue with me, but you can't argue with the law. The air was taut as a wire. Elaine lifted her head, her voice suddenly firm. If you think you can come back to our house, don't. You're not welcome there. We won't open our door to a liar. Nathan stared at his mother, disbelief in his eyes. Mom, what are you saying? I'm your son. My son would never do this. You betrayed not just your wife but your parents too. Don't come back, Nathan. I can't bear to see you like this. Harold put a hand on his wife's shoulder, nodding firmly. Elaine's right. Nathan, pack your things and go. If you have any shred of decency left, don't make this worse. The room sank into suffocating silence. Nathan's eyes darted from me to his father, then his mother. No one stood with him anymore. His voice hardened, trying to seize control. Fine. If you're all against me, I'll leave on my own. But you'll regret this. No, Nathan. The one who will regret it is you. Elaine stepped toward me, taking my hand, her voice shaking but steady. Daughter, I'm sorry for what you've been put through. You don't deserve this. Believe me, your father and I will always be here for you. We'll never turn our backs. I felt her trembling hand in mine, and inside me rose both pain and relief. I squeezed her hand tightly, answering softly, Thank you, Mom. All I wanted was for the truth to come out. The rest I'll face on my own. Harold sighed, his face heavy. Nathan, you have 15 minutes. If you have any respect left, pack now. We won't let Mackenzie endure another moment of this. Nathan turned, yanking open the closet, and began tossing clothes into a suitcase in rough, angry motions. Every slam of a drawer, every zip of the bag cut into the memories of our 8-year marriage. I watched without a word. The chaos had passed. Instead, a cold calm settled over me, as though I had finally seen the truth and accepted it. In the mirror, I caught my reflection. Eyes swollen red but burning with resolve. The betrayed wife was gone. I was Mackenzie, in control of my life. In the days after Nathan left the house, I lived in a space that felt both empty and strangely lighter. His presence was gone, but traces remained everywhere. A coffee mug left in the sink, brown shoes still under the bench, and above all, the endless silence when night fell. I knew I had to truly make this house mine. I called a locksmith to change every lock. At the same time, I went to the bank, closed our joint accounts, and transferred my share into my own. I remember the banker's hesitant glance at Nathan's name on the documents before nodding approval. From that moment, I had cut a crucial tie. Nathan, however, was relentless. He began texting, calling, leaving dozens of voicemails. His words spun in circles. Apologies, begging, then anger, even threats. I blocked number after number, account after account. With each block, I felt stronger, as if building another wall to protect myself. And then the red phone landed in my hands. Samantha had left it behind in her rush that day. At first I thought of returning it. But as it sat there, glaring red like a living piece of evidence, I couldn't stop myself from opening it. I wanted to know, how deep did this betrayal go? The phone didn't have a complicated password. A few taps, the screen lit up and message after message appeared. My hands shook as I read. It wasn't only sweet exchanges between Samantha and Nathan. It also contained a long thread with a familiar name, Valerie Carter, Nathan's sister. Valerie had always treated me as an outsider. From the day I married into the Carter family, she never hid her disdain. Every word, every look reminded me, you'll never truly be one of us. I had thought it was simple jealousy. But reading these messages, I realized she hadn't only known about the affair, she had encouraged it. One message Valerie had sent Nathan a few weeks earlier read, "Don't worry, I'll keep quiet. Mackenzie's so naive she won't suspect a thing." Another, after a night Nathan didn't come home, "Just say it was a meeting with Dad. She'll believe it." I gripped the phone tightly, sweat breaking out across my palms. Valerie had played her part in turning me into a fool in front of the entire family. I called Elaine. Her voice shook as she listened to me recount everything. "Oh God, Mackenzie, are you sure?" "Valerie, she knew all along." "Not just knew, Mom. I have the messages right here. She hid it, even told Nathan how to lie." On the other end, I heard Harold's heavy sigh. He broke in. "I always hoped Valerie would grow up, take on more responsibility. But this is hard to accept." I bit my lip, my voice hoarse. I never imagined the one who looked down on me all these years would be the one helping him betray me. To her, I was never truly family. Elaine choked up. "Don't say that. You're family to us. Blood doesn't define everything. You've shown us what love and kindness truly mean. We will never turn our backs on you, Mackenzie." I closed my eyes, letting the tears fall onto my pillow. Painful, but there was a measure of comfort knowing Harold and Elaine chose to stand with me. That evening, I sat alone in the living room, the red phone resting on the table. I reread every line, every word. Valerie and Nathan spoke about advances from the family company, about covering the books, so Harold wouldn't notice. This went deeper than betrayal in marriage. It wasn't emotional, it was financial treachery, a betrayal of the Carter family itself. I remembered one final message sent 3 days earlier. "Valerie, don't worry. If Mackenzie suspects anything, I'll handle it. She doesn't understand the business anyway." I set the phone down, a chill running down my spine. I understood now. To Valerie, I had never been enough. In her eyes, I was an outsider, a wife who sat at Sunday dinner but had no right to interfere in the real business of the family. But now she had exposed everything herself. And this red phone was the key to unlocking the truth they had kept hidden. I picked up the phone and called Meredith Green, a lawyer I knew through work. I didn't explain everything, only said, "I need to see you. As soon as possible. I think I've found something that could change everything." Meredith paused for a moment, then answered firmly, "All right. Tomorrow morning, bring everything to my office. And Mackenzie, don't let anyone know you have that phone." The next day, I carried the red phone into Meredith Green's office. She greeted me with a firm handshake, sharp eyes behind her glasses. I told her everything, from the affair to the messages between Nathan and Valerie. Meredith listened, sometimes nodding, sometimes jotting notes. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. "Mackenzie, this isn't about marriage anymore. If what you say about the missing money is true, then we're looking at a serious legal issue." I swallowed hard. "Do you think it could be financial fraud?" "Very possible. And if so, the consequences will be far bigger than divorce. The first thing you need to do is protect yourself. Don't let Nathan or Valerie know you have that phone. And second, you need to gather evidence. You can't rely on words alone, they're smart enough to cover their tracks." I whispered, almost to reassure myself, "Evidence? I already have part of it." Meredith leaned forward, her tone precise. "Good. But you'll need more. Messages are a start. Look for any transactions, emails, anything tied to finances. The more evidence you have, the safer you'll be." Another chill spread down my spine. From a betrayed wife, I now stood at the center of something that could destroy the Carter family's reputation. Meredith placed her hand on the notepad before her, emphasizing each word. "Mackenzie, remember this. This isn't personal anymore. This is survival. If you take this path, you must be truly ready. I nodded. I knew once this secret came to light, the Carter family would never be the same again. That night, I wore a modest navy dress, standing beside Harold and Elaine in front of the glass doors of the Hilton Hotel. A bright banner hung above, Carter Family Celebration, a new chapter. Valerie had organized the event under that grand name, and everyone knew it was her chance to publicly claim leadership of the company from Harold. Harold adjusted his tie, his face tense. Elaine slipped her arm through mine as if to say, "You're not alone." In my purse, the USB weighed heavy like my heart at that moment. Inside, the ballroom glittered with lights. Sparkling gowns, clinking wine glasses, voices filled with laughter. Guests praised the Carter family, spoke of generational success, and a new vision in leadership. On stage, Valerie glowed in a fiery red gown, her hair in a sleek bun, lips curved in a triumphant smile. And Nathan, he was there too. A sharp gray suit, dark blue tie, his confident smile untouched by scandal. I saw him raising a glass with a business partner, the arrogance in his eyes unmistakable. To anyone else, he looked like a successful man of stature. But I knew better than anyone. The truth behind that smile was wrought. Valerie stepped to the podium. Her voice rang out, confident, amplified by the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, today marks a milestone for the Carter family. After years of working alongside my father, I am honored to announce that I will officially take over the leadership of the company." Applause erupted. Some guests even stood in congratulations. Elaine gripped my hand under the table, while Harold kept his gaze fixed on the stage, his eyes heavy with sorrow. Valerie went on, "The Carter company will continue to thrive with the trust of family and the entire team. This is not my achievement, it belongs to us all." I rose to my feet. The chair scraped against the wooden floor, the sound drawing countless eyes to me. My heart pounded, but my voice was steady. "Sorry to interrupt. But I think before we celebrate, everyone needs to hear something else." Valerie faltered, her eyes flashing annoyance. "Mackenzie, this is a family event. If you have personal matters, we'll discuss them later." I pressed my lips together, slowly pulled the USB from my purse and held it up for all to see. "No, Valerie. This is no longer personal. This concerns the entire company and the honor of the Carter family." Nathan frowned, striding toward me. "What are you doing, Mackenzie? Sit down." I stepped back, locking eyes with him. "No, Nathan. It's time you face the truth." I signaled the technician already arranged by Meredith beforehand. Moments later, the large screen behind the stage lit up and familiar voices filled the room. "Valerie, don't worry. I've adjusted the books. No one knows where that money went." "Thank you, Nathan. If Dad finds out, I'll lose everything. Let's keep it this way, we'll make it up with the new project." "And Mackenzie? She's naive, she'll never suspect a thing." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some guests shook their heads, others covered their mouths. Elaine shut her eyes, her hand gripping Harold's. He stayed still, jaw tight, eyes blank. Nathan shouted, panic breaking his voice. "Turn it off. This is fake. Mackenzie, you're destroying this family." "No, Nathan. You and Valerie are the ones destroying this family." Valerie tried to keep her composure, but her lips trembled. "These are just spliced recordings. Who would believe?" I cut her off, my gaze like steel. "The red phone. Everyone here knows it exists. And on it, every file is intact, verifiable at any time." Silence fell over the room. Some shareholders whispered among themselves. I saw an older woman set her wine glass down and shake her head in disappointment. Elaine rose, her voice trembling but clear. "Oh God, Nathan. Valerie, what did we do to raise you like this?" Harold got to his feet, calm and resolute. "If what we all heard is true, then this isn't shameful. This is criminal. And the Carter Company cannot, will not, be led by people like this." The chatter swelled like waves. I looked at Nathan, and for the first time, I saw real panic in his eyes, stripped of his false confidence. Valerie bit her lip until it bled, her face pale. The ballroom, minutes earlier alive with laughter and applause, was now frozen, as though no one could believe the truth had been laid bare. And there I stood, feeling it deeply. That red phone had detonated, blowing apart the perfect mask of the Carter family. Valerie shot to her feet, her chair screeching across the wooden floor, startling the crowd. Her face flushed red, her eyes blazing with fury. "You're enjoying this, aren't you, Mackenzie? You've ruined this family, turned us into a joke in front of everyone." Her voice rang out, sharp and bitter. A few guests whispered, others exchanged glances and shook their heads. Before I could speak, Harold slammed his hand on the table, his voice cutting through the room. "Enough, Valerie. This isn't Mackenzie. You and Nathan are the ones who destroyed this family. You've turned generations of hard work into tools for your greed and selfishness." Elaine covered her face with her hands. She shook her head slightly, as if unable to believe her own children had fallen so far. Nathan's usual arrogance was gone. He stepped toward me, panic in his eyes, his voice breaking. "Maxie, please, don't let this go any further. I need you. You know it's only you who can save me now. Give me one more chance. We can forget this ever happened and start over." I looked at the man who had shared 8 years of marriage with me. 8 years of effort, forgiveness, and hope. And now all of it lay before me like a clumsy lie. All I saw was a man clawing desperately to escape the pit he had dug himself. "I've been saving you for 8 years, Nathan. But today, I'm saving myself." The music from the corner ensemble faltered, the musicians staring uncertainly as though unsure whether to continue playing. Nathan's face went pale, his lips trembling, but no words came out. Valerie let out a bitter, mocking laugh. "You think walking away is victory? You'll never be a real Carter." I turned, my heels clicking against the floor, my voice steady and calm. "And I don't need to be a Carter." Elaine called out after me, her voice breaking. I never forgot that morning sitting in Meredith's office, pen in hand, eyes fixed on the thick stack of papers before me. The divorce papers lay there, cold, sharp words on the page, but also the ticket out of a marriage long rotted. As the pen met the paper, each stroke cut through the rope that had bound me for 8 years. Meredith nodded gently, her eyes filled with understanding. "You've done the hardest part, Mackenzie. Now let the law take care of the rest." I left the courthouse with the signed decree, holding the keys to the house the court awarded me, along with the majority of the assets. Nathan had fought, hired lawyers to argue, but the evidence from the red phone and recordings stripped his defense bare. From then on, everything shifted quickly. Nathan lost credibility in business. Some partners canceled contracts, former colleagues turned away. Valerie fell under investigation. News of the shady money from the Carter Company spread, shaking the local financial world. I remembered the last photo of Valerie in the paper, her once proud face now exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, stripped of the fire she flaunted at that party. And me, I chose another path. I threw myself back into work, pouring my energy into my career. My company recognized my determination and vision. 1 year later, I was promoted to marketing director. On the day of the announcement, I hearing my boss say, "Mackenzie, you've earned this. We trust you'll take this department further." I also began to pursue the dreams Nathan had once mocked. I booked flights to Italy, then Spain. In Florence, beneath the Duomo's dome, I paused and looked up, watching sunlight spill through stained glass, my heart tightening with awe. I remembered Nathan sneering whenever I mentioned Italy. "Why bother? Just old stones and churches. Better we go to the Maldives." But now I walked freely down cobblestone streets, tasted gelato, listened to bells toll across the towers. In Barcelona, I sat alone in Placa Rail, sipping sangria, watching locals laugh and chatter. I burst into laughter myself when I saw a street band playing flamenco at the corner, the guitar strums washing away old scars. I sent a picture to Elaine. "Mom, I finally made it here." She replied instantly, "We are so proud of you. Live for yourself, Mackenzie." Harold and Elaine never left my side. Every Sunday they came to my house carrying baskets of fruit and homemade dishes. Elaine teased me often, "You're a great cook, but you still can't beat my lasagna." Harold quietly fixed squeaky hinges or changed light bulbs in the garage. Whenever I saw his steady old hands at work, I felt a kind of fatherly love my own father had never given me. One late afternoon, as the three of us sat on the porch with golden light flooding the garden, Harold turned to me. "You know, Mackenzie, I once thought losing Nathan meant losing everything. But now, looking at you, I see we never really lost anything. You've given us a reason to believe family is still whole, even if it looks different." I rested my head on Elaine's shoulder. She wrapped her arms around me, her gentle hand patting like I was a child again. My eyes blurred, but not with the same heavy grief. This time it was light tears of gratitude. With every trip, every new achievement, I felt Harold and Elaine walking beside me. Not as former in-laws, not as people bound by obligation, but as true family who chose to stay even after all legal ties were gone. I once thought losing Nathan meant losing everything. Love, family, even part of my future. But now, looking back, I understood. Letting go of Nathan was when I truly began to live, when I finally gained everything. 1 year after signing the divorce papers, my life opened in ways I had never imagined. Instead of endless work trips, boardrooms, and strained conversations about ambition and money, I spent mornings preparing breakfast for a 6-year-old girl with bright eyes and soft brown curls. Her name was Lily. I met her during a city volunteer program when our group visited a local orphanage. She was alone in the corner, clutching a worn teddy bear. She barely spoke, quietly watching, her dark eyes following everyone. I knelt beside her and asked softly, "Sweetheart, do you like to draw?" She nodded shyly, then handed me a crumpled paper with a sketch of a house and 3 people holding hands. My heart ached. I had found something greater than old wounds. I began adoption procedures for Lily. Took months. Endless paperwork, interviews, evaluations. There were moments I nearly gave up from the weight of it. But each time I saw Lily's eyes, I found new strength. The day Lily legally became my daughter, Harold and Elaine were the first to celebrate. Elaine hugged me, whispering, "You've given us a new reason to live, Mackenzie. Lily is our granddaughter now." Harold bent down, ruffling Lily's hair, his warm voice steady. "Granddaughter, from now on I'll teach you chess. And trust me, you'll beat me sooner than you think." Lily giggled, a pure sound I had rarely heard from her before. 1 year later, the house that had once symbolized ruin became a true home. And today, I prepared for Lily's first birthday party here. Pastel balloons hung across the living room. A buttercream cake bore the words in pink icing, "Happy birthday, Lily." I remembered Harold and Elaine arriving at the door with another cake, homemade by Elaine. Across it, she had carefully written, "To our granddaughter." Elaine set it down and bent to hug Lily. "Sweetheart, today is your most special day." Lily clung to her, eyes shining. "I've never had a birthday cake of my own." "Thank you, Grandma." "Thank you, Mom." I knelt, kissing her curls. "You deserve all the joy in the world, Lily." Laughter filled the room. Harold opened a box to reveal a colorful kite. "I'll teach you to fly this on the weekend. Remember, all it takes is wind and patience and you'll see it soar." The guests were few, close friends, colleagues, and of course Harold and Elaine. But the small house brimmed with light and laughter. I watched Lily run around, curls bouncing, tiny hands clutching new gifts, and my heart felt lighter than ever. When everyone sang the birthday song, Lily closed her eyes, blew out the candles, then opened them with a radiant smile. She ran into my arms, whispering, "Mom, I wish we could stay like this forever." Tears slid down my cheeks, but they were tears of happiness. I held her tight, whispering back, "We will, Lily. We always will." That evening, after the guests had gone, I sat at the table with Harold and Elaine. The warm glow of the lamp fell across their faces, older, lined, but lit with a simple joy. Elaine lifted her teacup, her voice gentle. "Mackenzie, you've come such a long way. If not for that red phone, perhaps things would have been so different. If not for that betrayal, I might still be living in lies. But sometimes, betrayal is the beginning of finding real family." Elaine clasped my hand, Harold nodded firmly. The next day we took Lily to the park. She held my hand in one small palm, Harold's strong old hand in the other. Elaine walked beside us, telling little stories that made Lily laugh. The sun dipped low, painting the sky gold, stretching our 4 shadows across the brick path. I squeezed Lily's hand, feeling her tiny trust resting in mine. In that moment, I knew I had stepped into a new chapter. A chapter of love, hope, and a family built by choice, not by blood. We kept walking beneath the sunset, as though the whole world was quietly blessing my little family. You know, sometimes what feels like total destruction is really the door to a new life. For me, that red phone was the end of a marriage, but the beginning of finding Lily, of having Harold and Elaine as the parents I never had, of understanding that true family isn't blood, it's love and choice. And what about you? If you were in my place, would you choose to forgive, to hold on, or to let go and start again? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next stories. Stories of love, family, and life's unexpected turns. Who knows, you might find a part of yourself in them.